Okay, Ananias Daudu, Palava Institute Research Fellow. We are trying to change the narrative of African research at Palava Institute.
You're welcome, Ananias. Good to meet you. Someone else, please.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwatoluwa Ajaguna of Ajaguna Visuals. Ajaguna Visuals is a videography and photography company here in Abuja, and it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Is anyone else that would like to speak? You could just raise your hand and we'll just call you, please. Thank you. I believe we've lost Chisom, so I suggest that Yemisi, you should direct us, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Apologies for that. I'm sure that she'll be able to join us back shortly. If you're not able to speak, you can use the comment section. You can use the comment section. Just let us know your name and where you're joining us from. Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Wanda Chineyemi. I work for Ethnocentric Limited. I also am an alumnus of Octobel Development Company, and I work in the MSME development space, facilitating ecosystem development and access to finance and markets for MSMEs in the creative sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to meet someone from the alumni team. Okay, I don't know if there's anyone else who has not introduced themselves because I stepped away for a bit. Yes, please, Nurse, please go ahead. You're raising up your hand. You can go ahead.
Hi. Sorry, I'm home now. Hi, everyone. My name is Onesefale Fiolarejo. I'm the COO at My Seeds Hub, a digital-based platform that gives our users access to a range of fitness and wellness services. We're based in Lagos, Nigeria, and it's nice to meet everyone.
Hi, Ones. Thank you so much for joining us today. Anyone else want to introduce themselves? You can unmute your mic and speak, or you can use the comment section. Yes, Mr. Yahya, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yahya Janga. I'm joining from Abuja. I work with the British Council, so I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to fruitful deliberation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? I think Chisom is back, so I'll hand over to her to continue. Hi, Chisom, please go ahead.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Sorry, I had a bit of a network issue there. So thank you all for introducing yourselves. And once again, we are glad to have you all here with us on this webinar. So just a little of an introduction to FoundryKollective, right? FoundryKollective is a platform for senior level development and operational management that was developed by the Octavia Center for Management Development, arm of Octavia Development Company. So it was built on over a decade of leadership programming. As you get to understand later, Octavia Development Company has been doing such trainings over the past few years and have now decided to curate this FoundryKollective training as its way of, building the African system, building the African leadership system. So we are really glad to have you here joining us and be a part of this training and being a part of the future. So FoundryKollective is designed to assess, train, and place execution-ready managers who can drive measurable results within 90 days, right? And this is to bridge critical gaps in business analysis, financial literacy, and market intelligence for professionals who are ready to lead at the next level. Now, a little introduction to Octavia Development Company. We are a leading impact advisory firm dedicated to fostering competitiveness across value chains in Africa, and of course, developing and advancing inclusive social and economic development in Nigeria and across sub-Saharan Africa. So now we'll be diving into the training. proper. But first, just a little introduction of the people who will be speaking to us this evening. As seen on the flyer, we had Mr. Nelson Okwonna and Mrs. Yemisi Ajeojo. So Mr. Nelson is a strategy and development consultant, passionate about national development, and has contributed to several projects and businesses that impact on increasing aggregate productivity and competitiveness of Nigerian firms and certain public actors. With over 14 years of experience as a management and development consultant, Mr. Nelson specializes in institutional analysis, stakeholder engagement, and development of policy and advocacy frameworks to strengthen inclusive economic and education outcomes. He has led ecosystem mapping, gender inclusive program design, and access to finance and capacity building interventions across Africa, supporting vulnerable populations, including women and youth. He previously served as cluster development specialist and access to finance manager on the DFID-funded MAFITA program, and of course, other programs. And then a little intro on Mrs. Yemisi. Mrs. Yemisi Ajeojo is a strategy and research professional with over 8 years of experience in designing and implementing inclusive development skills and women's empowered programs across Nigeria and Africa. She has worked with organizations including Leap Africa, She Leads Africa, ANDE, the UK Nigeria Tech Hub, and state governments to deliver gender inclusive enterprise and education-linked interventions impacting over 7,000 beneficiaries, a majority of whom are women and youth. Her work includes leading stakeholder engagement, program design, and ecosystem analysis to address structural barriers affecting women and girls' economic and educational participation. As Chief Strategy and Finance Officer at Thrift Africa, she leads research, program design, and policy-aligned initiatives supporting underserved communities across 40 locations with a focus on financial inclusion, skills access, and gender-responsive development. So a round of applause for Mr. Nelson and Madam Yemisi Ajeojo. Thank you so much for being on this call.
Thank you so much.
But before we proceed to the training, we would like to hear from a former beneficiary of our training programs, particularly the Business Analyst Program, Mr. Bode. I don't know if Mr. Bode is on the call. Is Mr. Bode on the call with us?
Yes, I think I saw him earlier. Let me just confirm. If not, we'll go ahead, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Bode.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you all. This came as an impromptu. I had to close a particular other meeting to be here. So if I'll be excused in maybe answering some of the questions that I was sent, that's why I wanted to make sure I attend this meeting so that I could give an idea of what BAP has given to me, and also to encourage others that may be willing, or investors that might be interested in investing in what BAP is giving to people like me that didn't really know what business development was before. And I don't know if I should go ahead to. Hello?
Please go ahead, Mr. Bode. The floor is yours.
So what I was given was that I should speak on 3 things, like a testimonial of what I've achieved with BAP. What I'll say is, before I joined, I had already graduated as a mass communication student, and I also have NC in economics and social studies, and I had done a lot of other. I've had experiences in other places, but I couldn't just land a very good work, no matter how I tried. no matter how I did my CV, there was no opportunities. There were opportunities because I was doing freelance work here and there, but I just didn't understand what real business development was, because I've written business business plan for people, but it was just basic. But not until I joined BAP and I did the 3 months program. Then we were plenty in the that did the business program. Then after the business program, I first the company Octoville attached me with a company that did um, business writing for other companies that are looking to get loans or start a business. I did that for like 6 months, and until Mr. Nelson said there's another opportunity. After he called me and we spoke concerning the experience I was having, and the place was good, but the pay wasn't okay. And he now said no, that one of the opportunities that Octoville will give you is that they watch your development and they watch your finance, whether it's okay. And so he said there are other opportunities that he could give me. So he found Marble and Groove Nigeria Limited, and he said I should just attend, and that was it. I became my export manager with Marble and Groove. Meanwhile, I don't know anything about export before, but BAP had already prepared me for what to expect concerning business. As of now, I do majority of the business writings for Marble, and some of there's a difference between what I used to write as business plan before than what I write now. And if I post some of the things that business writing I've done, you guys would actually say, okay, fine, there's a difference actually. So the testimonials are where was I before? So I've mentioned that I didn't know anything about business in the first place, but BAP actually equipped me with the skill I needed. So the second question is, what were you finding difficult or missing at the stage of my career? It's understanding what businesses is all about actually. But it's easy when you pass through Octoville, because Octoville gives you not just the theoretical part of it. They try to teach you through the practical aspect of it. And those practicals are what prepares you. It gives you an idea of what you'll be expecting and some of the things that you need to understand. But the truth is, the best of the experience is always out there at the business stage. And one of the things I would have loved was that I know finance is a big issue, but one of the experiences that Octoville I think should include is midway towards the training, there should be a way they could visit companies and do work for companies. Actually, when I say do work for companies, I mean take learners, the students, on field trip, something like a field trip, something that can be designed into a field trip so that they understand what meetings goes on in meetings or something like that. Maybe in with Octoville, they might not say anything, but they just experience what meetings look like, especially with clients. The third one is what did the gap feel like between where I was now and where I needed to get to? What I'll say is there's continuous in learning. You can't learn everything in one breath. You can't even learn it in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 10 years. You keep learning. And the best of thing is that Octoville gives you a foundation with which you can build from. Because you can say, oh, you want to learn how to build a house, but you don't just know how to mix bricks, and you can actually build a house and it crumbles. But what BAP gives you a good foundation of on how you can build any kind of house you want to build, so you understand where you're going to. The second one is what the experience gave me. So what specifically did the training, mentorship, structure, engagement provide that I did not have before? Just like I said, the real thing about what business is all about, business writing in itself, the use of data, the use of the use of data to actually explain whether there's an advantage in a particular business that you are looking at, whether there's an advantage in it or not. The second one is was there a skill, framework, shift in thinking, practically tool that changed how you worked? It actually showed me that the research, a good in-depth research, not just in business, but in various aspects of our lives too, can open your eyes to a lot of things. And where you need to find information matters. And what you do with the information on the opportunities you have out there also matters. The third one was what was hard about the experience. Do not sensitize the audience expect over. And what was hard about the experience? I think it's just the finance of you getting to Octoville because you didn't have any finance. And another thing that's always hard about the experience is at the offices you're working, you're expected to actually know what you're doing, which means you must not make errors. Although there are always chances that you make error, but Octoville actually prepares you. That is if you actually listen to, that is if the student actually listen well enough to grasp what is being taught. And also the student actually goes ahead to learn more on his own, because the world of business is very vast. But with experience that Octoville will give you, you are sure that it will help you break through majority of the blind spot that exists for people who don't really understand what business or opportunities, or what opportunities they should pursue. The third one is where am I now? My current role is as the export manager of Marble and Grove Nigeria Limited. We are an agro-based company, though we've entered into mining as well. We export raw materials, agro raw materials, or mineral raw materials, or semi-finished goods, semi-processed goods to other countries. So what can you do today as leader or manager? I think a leader needs to keep learning and keep watching his people, and they should go ahead and read more about leadership. Read more about leadership, read more about business, and keep learning. What would you say as the final thing on the page? What would I say directly to mid-level management in the audience? I'll say keep learning, trust Octoville, keep researching, trust the managers of Octoville that they are there to guide and they know what they are doing. And there's always opportunities for businesses out there. And I would like to say thank you to Octoville as a roundup. Thank you to Octoville for the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Thank you, everyone that contributed. I know others will be speaking, and I know that you have a lot of opportunities that is coming your way. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bade. And really thankful for how much you've grown over the last few years. So I know that a few of us are on the call and we're a bit confused. Oh, I got an email from FoundryKollective. What is BAP? What is Octoville? So I just thought that it's necessary to have some clarification. So Octoville Development Company is a development consulting company that has worked with for-profit, non-profit, and government organizations in countries across the world, supporting with policy advisory, a wide range of development work and business strategy. One of the key things that we do is to identify problems that we can solve, especially problems that are tied with economic development and improving the livelihood of people. And so in the past, we've organized different human capital development training, including the business analytics program, which Mr. Bade was a part of. But even beyond that, just the work at Octoville itself can feel like an apprenticeship program, like the Igbo apprenticeship program, where you really get to learn a lot, both technically, industry relevant knowledge, and just as a person in general, improve a lot of your perspective on life, your work ethic, and relevant soft skills that makes you a globally relevant professional. And so with that, and with the scope of work that we've been able to do over the last few years, last year, we officially launched Octopus Venture, which is a venture capital and venture studio. And one of the venture studios that we're building, or one of the studios that we're building, is the FoundryKollective, which is going to be an edtech supporting individuals both at entry level, mid-level, and people looking to become co-founders to sharpen their skill, experience. But beyond just offering trainings, our goal is to place people in opportunities that challenges them and matches their ambition. And this has come off the years of work we've done, BAB, we've done different trainings, the YSEC training with British Council, and so on. And so this is our very first ever public outing with FoundryKollective, and we thought that it would be useful for people who have engaged with the Octavio brand or with the BAP training to come and talk about their experience at Octavio, right? Both in terms of the quality of support that they've received and how well they've gone, so that people who join the call are not just hearing theory or perhaps something that they've heard over and over again, but can definitely see how it ties into results in the workplace. And so we're thankful for Mr. Bode and everyone else really who will get to meet during the course of this webinar, who will be sharing their experience on the Octavio, now FoundryKollective experience. So as we go further in the webinar, I will be calling up the CEO of Octavio Development Company and now the CEO of Octopus Venture to come and take the first session on preparing for leadership. So I'll be handing over to Mr. Nelson now.
Thank you very much, Yemisi. Thank you so much. And I must thank Mr. Bode for that succinct summary. I believe Bode passed through us almost 2 years ago now, and we're happy to know that he's still waxing strong and growing in the management ecosystem. Now, my session today will focus on the subject of preparing for leadership. I believe you can all hear me. And how to become a business manager, leading business manager. Thank you, Mr. Ajeojo. If you note the word becoming a leading business manager. So like Bode said, it's a process, it's going to take a while. And our commitment at FoundryKollective is to be with you throughout the entire journey. FoundryKollective is led by Yemisi and also by Deborah. Deborah gave birth to a baby 2 days ago, so she couldn't be here. We told her, Deborah, we don't want to see you on this call. So you'll be hearing from both of them a lot. Now, so becoming a business leader is a journey. So my session today will just give us a brief and overview of some of the things that we believe that a typical business leader should have at the back of their mind. Now, this is not going to be exhaustive. It's a primer as to the kind of session, the kind of training that you will receive as you do enroll for the FoundryKollective Senior Manager course. Now, I'm going to run a bit fast. They have introduced me earlier, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, now, businesses do not succeed by accident. Value creation is a systemic enterprise. And it is to be a leader in this space is the ability to think across that system. When we say systemic, we mean it's a system. Just like your body system, respiratory system. There's no one organ, there's no one tissue, or a reproductive system or circulatory system. You have multiple tissues, enzymes, organs, pituitary glands, playing different roles to achieve one coherent objective, right? So as a system, and as a business leader, you have to be able to think across that system. If there's anything that you get in this lecture, it is that it is a system. And to be a good leader, you must gain the capacity to think across the entire system. And I'll give you a case study. I had a friend, a lady, who was complaining about the workplace, the fact that she's doing so much and she wasn't earning as much as she would have wanted to earn. And I asked her a question. I said, have you been able to develop a proposal that secured a client for your business? He said, no. He said, can you develop a proposal that can secure a client? He said, well, no. I was like, well, I can understand your consideration, but you are still not at the forefront of what your firm is doing. Your firm relies primarily on winning contracts with development partners and implementing those contracts. If you cannot lead that exercise, if you cannot understand the wherewithal required to lead that exercise, you are still not at the most critical value chain, the most critical segment of your enterprise. So why you are really working hard, you have to take into cognizance that you are working hard after the real hard work has been done, which is not bad, but it shows that in the eyes of the business leaders, you're important, but maybe not as important as you might possibly think. So that's a very important point to raise, because a lot of times you might also have similar consideration where you believe that you are actually working, but they're not recognizing you. Maybe you are working, you have one domain expertise in one particular segment of your business. It's not enough to lead the business. It's not enough. You must have a 360 degrees view, because the CEO of that company, the board members are not just thinking about one particular function. That's not about the entire function. And if you can think across the entire function, you have a better view of the challenges, opportunities facing that business. So you don't have a holistic view if you cannot think through the entire broad spectrum of activities required to find a customer, serve a customer, do that in a profitable manner. So firms exist to create value, number one, but they create value for a defined customer segment, and they do so in a sustainable manner. Create value for a defined customer segment in a sustainable manner, so that as a service or product being delivered, we'll have someone from a development organization here, and you agree with me that even though you are not buying and selling like a typical market, player like some of us, but you are still creating value. You're creating that value for a defined market customer who probably is the one providing the grant money, providing the charitable donations for the work you do. And you have to manage that relationship. You have to show that you're creating value. You have to know that customer very well. And you have to figure out a way to ask yourself, how do we do this sustainably? And of course, sustainability is an issue of unit economics, profits, revenue, or in the development space, value for money. How do we show that this work we did actually delivered the kind of impact that the donor would like to see? I give a case study. In the telco sector, we have Globacom, we have MTN in the same sector. One is losing market share, one is gaining market share. What is the difference? What has happened? Because of time, I may not have it answer the question, but the point to note is that something is happening. Value creation is definitely not the same across these two firms, and that has affected their market share. Market share basically means the proportion of the customer base that is loyal or associated with that particular customer. So that particular business, this particular case. I'll move a bit faster now. Okay. So value is created within an industry. Very, 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 very important statement. Now, we don't create value in a space, in an empty space. We create value within a defined industry, which is in a sector. Defined industry, which is in a sector. So, for example, let me just call somebody at random. Okay, Bode has just told us that he's operating in the agro export space, and they've just entered into mining. So agro export is an industry in itself. It has specific challenges. You have to find the farmers, you have to aggregate the farmers, you have to find the market for your export, you have to be able to finance that procurement, that process, you have to be able to move the things around, you have to store them sufficiently, you have to maybe do warehouse financing where required, do quality checks, ship the product to where you are shipping it to. Have the transaction patterns are different. My point, the feature of the industry determines what is possible in that industry. Industry structure, to a large extent, determines what is possible. A case study of Mangel Water. I'm not sure any of you know Mangel Water, but my friend used to be the manager of Mangel Water. I spoke with him even this afternoon. Mangel was a leading pure water industry here in Abuja, maybe about 15 years ago. But I'm not sure you've heard about it. But Aquafina, you've heard about them. Question: what happened? The Mangel is dead. Aquafina is still surviving. The summary is this. They were operating an industry where you have a commodity product, that is water, which is undifferentiated. So in that kind of industry, it is efficiency. The most efficient player would win. But then my friend did his MBA, and his thesis was on how can Mangel Water achieve competitiveness. He did that MBA many years ago with Netherlands Business School. And I reviewed the document for him. And you know his conclusion, that without investing maybe 100 times the money they have today, they have no chance. They cannot compete. And that was fact. And 3 years later, the company was fully dead. My point, in a particular industry, the structure of that industry is what determines the competitiveness. You cannot do cement business with 10 billion naira. You simply cannot. It's an efficiency industry. You have to scale. It's an opportunity. You have to scale. Without scaling, there's no hope. Ditto for pure water and ditto for every commodity business. It is scale that gives you differentiation capacity. So I might be in the right industry that I love, but I don't understand the structure of that industry. I will not be able to maximize my my potential, regardless of how good I am, regardless of how hardworking I am. So a manager must understand the structure of the industry and figure out what you can do within that structure. Otherwise, just go home. There's nothing much that you can do. So industry structure shapes strategy. So for a perfect fragmented market, you know, that is perfect competition. You know, it's very difficult to build margins. Efficiency is critical. Now, this is a lecture in itself, right? But the point to note is that the industry structure will shape your strategy. If you don't understand the industry structure of your business, you cannot do too much. As a business manager, it means that even though you are working for company A, your goal is not to understand company A per se. Your goal is to understand the industry within which company A operates. I don't know if you understand that. If you understood that, just give me a sign that you got that message. You have to understand the industry within which your firm operates. You have to own that industry, you know. So, because the reason is that if you understand the industry, you can now discuss with your board, with your thank you very much, I can see your hands. You can discuss with your senior, your boss, you can discuss with the CEO, you can discuss with other members as a stakeholder in that industry. But if you don't understand the industry, your concern is your job, what they told you. In fact, even when you are assigned a responsibility, you can't see what they are saying. The reason why you can't see what they are saying fully is that your prism is limited. You're like, they say I should write this proposal. They say I should write this proposal. But you've not sat down to say, this proposal is within an industry, maternal health, or within an industry, let's say marketing of pure water. Do you understand the pure water industry? Do you understand the water distribution, fast moving consumable industry? If I do, you can even come back and tell your boss that, the way we're thinking about this thing, I don't think it's the right way. He ask you, what do you mean by that? Say, sir, calm down. You know, let me explain. You go is that you analyze the industry. You say, sir, if we take this position A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, of course, I hope you know that the fact that you have a good idea does not mean that they will listen to you, right? Because you've not proven yourself. Nobody knows you. So there's the soft part of management where you have to learn how to sell a good idea to the bosses, even when you have done the extra work. You know, the assumption that, oh, I have a good idea, I've worked, I've done a good research, that the management will clap for me. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. I believe Yemisi might talk about it a little bit, but it's not something I'm going to flesh out. You know, because you're dealing with human beings. So we don't know you. You don't prove it yourself before. All of a sudden, you're mounting good idea. We will have to test stress because if not, you're wasting everybody's time. So my point is that you have to understand the industry and you have to communicate from that understanding. Once you can do that, all of a sudden, you are speaking at the level of your boss. And I tell you the truth, it has nothing to do with the how many years you finished NYSC. What I just said now, if you can achieve it in 1 year of NYSC, it's a matter of time you will get into senior level management. If you can achieve it in 1 year, you can. So most times for individuals, we choose when we achieve it. Some do it 10 years, some do it 20 years. Some say, they should train us. They should train us. Question, nobody owes you that responsibility. If any organization where they are training you, fantastic, blessed are you. But nobody owes that opportunity. Nobody, you are employed to do one thing. They say you should do it. But designed to be a senior level leader is your choice. So you have to, within the organization, tell yourself that I'm privileged to be here. I'm privileged to be given opportunity to learn. And then you get to learn it. You can tell yourself after 5 o'clock every day, I must clock in 2 hours every day to learn. I will say 3 hours in your first 3 years of work. That's not because young people nowadays, they are 10 fellowships, they're going to be laughing. One is enough for you, right? So that you can have 3 hours every day to give it to building your capacity and give yourself a target that within 3 years of NYC, I should be at the cross-cutting level of my industry. And you can. I keep saying it, 3 years is more than enough. By 6 years, you're a PhD in that industry. If you follow what I'm telling you now, you 6 years. So these lectures are people who have already done like 3 years already, So you're supposed to have received some level of proficiency. You should be like MSc level now in your industry. But by assuming you have not clocked it, just for you to know that you should have, right? So, but you can start today to start clocking, to tell yourself, okay, it means that if this thing Nelson is saying is true, that means I have lost a lot of time. But they say my place that whenever you wake up is your morning, right? Tell yourself, what do I need to know about my industry such that if I sit down with the most senior person in the country in that space, I have something to say. So your firm is not your standard. The industry is your standard. Very important. Because if you might be in a mediocre firm, how would you know you are in a mediocre firm? So that your firm is mediocre does not mean that you should be mediocre. So people create value. People design and manage the system. So it means that this is also a social issue. This work of creating a business is also a social issue. You are dealing with human beings that have, mercy, if I repeat the word, so you have to learn to work with people. So Yemisi will talk about a bit about social dynamics, and we're going to discuss that extensively in the FoundryKollective courses. But the point is you are dealing with people. Effort is not always equals to value. Working hard doesn't necessarily guarantee value, right? But the market determines the value, and people design and manage the system. So you have to understand people. And that's also what we call the business leader market fit. You have to fit the market that you want to work in. So maybe, for example, your market has to do with a lot of grits. For example, let's say the retail market. If you work in the retail market, it's about, you just have to be precise. Inventory management. You have to be a bean counter. You have to be able to check work every day. There's no, maybe some retail shops don't even close on Sundays. So if you don't have that discipline of the grind on a daily basis, maybe that's not the market for you. Now, does not mean that you are not capable, but it's just not you. So you have to choose your market too. Well, because you're not cast in stone to be in that particular industry. You have to ask yourself, knowing me, can I really do this business? Can I really lead in this sector? Maybe I should choose a new sector altogether, right? So very important point to also note. Now, Value chain, this is a value chain. Value chain is basically the full range of activities required to bring a product or service from conception to production, delivery, and final disposal after use. So you have to design, product development, production, marketing, consumption. That's a value chain. So value is created. There's, part of what we tell our team, our participants when we train is that to have a competitive company, competitive means that the company can produce goods and services of comparable quality and pricing. Comparable quality and pricing. I'll give you a case study. This cup, if our company can make it, can we make it to the quality that everybody in the world is making it? That's number one. And can we do that quality at a competitive price? You know, you can make the quality, but at a higher price, it's not competitive. You get that? So competitiveness can be lost across any part of this value chain. It could be design, it could be production, it could be marketing. It can. So against that, you have to understand the value chain. One, benchmark your competitiveness across these value chains, and be able to think through where are we losing it? Where are we losing it? So one of the biggest assets of a good leader is to sit down, break the work down into these 4 stages, all the stages, find out where they're shedding money, and figure out how to stay competitive. You have to have your numbers at your fingertips across the value chain, not just the lump sum, across the value chain. There's also such a thing as a value chain governance. So, for example, Toyota governs its value chain. So, Toyota is a car manufacturer. It assembles cars, but it has many people designing parts for them. Toyota ensures that each of these firms, which are different firms, produce goods and services to meet its quality standard. Value chain governance means that someone in the value chain can govern a value chain. A firm can, in a way, regulate other firms. Of course, the other governance actors like government can have standards and all that. But my point is that you have to understand that there's something called a value chain. A value chain has different levels, and competitiveness is lost or gained across those different levels, and individuals can govern that value chain. So, for example, we have a client in the fashion industry that wants to take those fashion items from Nigeria to the whole world. But our products competitive? The answer is no. So you have to govern the value chain. If not, you don't have a business, right? So this is a typical case of a value chain, function making value chain. Different in a value chain, you have different transaction patterns. You have other industries in the chain that feed into. You have other transaction margins. You have power dynamics between the players. So for example, I give a case study. A company went into bottled cola to compete with Coca-Cola. Good idea, fantastic. Better pricing. In Nigeria here, they were doing quite well. You know what Coca-Cola did? Coca-Cola saw that it's a bottled, but there's one maker of bottle for that company. One maker that made those bottles. Coca-Cola went and bought that company. And they could not import the bottles at a competitive price. So the company was dead. They just bought the company. So the business leader would have understood that the value chain is critical. So, and I'm dealing with a big competitor, that means I must hedge the chain. Let's say you are in an organization that relies so much on donor money, and that it may not last forever. For example, we do a lot of donor work. I keep telling my team that every year we must make enough money from the private sector to pay our salaries. If not, if anything happens tomorrow, we'll be in trouble. And last year it happened. Donald Trump came into power and freeze. So imagine you are not thinking like that. You will build a career that is completely based on one value chain actor, a donor. And I've seen many people. And I said, that's not leadership, because you cannot be ignorant of the industry that you're operating. If you're ignorant, you chose to be ignorant. And in a sense, you deserve what comes, right? So my point is that the value chain, there are different transactions, there are different power dynamics, there are different actors, and their decisions can affect your firm. A good business leader understands all this. And when you are hearing news, you know that you can gauge what's likely going to happen, to your firm when, I mean, in light of your understanding of what can happen to the value chain. So you have to answer a couple of questions. How does my organization create value? Who are clients? Who is paying us? These are questions that you must have at your fingertips. What problems are we solving? How urgent is it? What alternatives exist? So if, for example, you're in a luxury sector that you are dealing with not wants, not needs, that has elastic demand that's cyclical. Demand can bend with income and mood. So I'll give you an example. Most of the pharmacists, I've been studying the pharmacy industry. So I was studying some group of pharmaceutical firms and how they managed during COVID, when COVID was shut down and all that, and also not even before COVID, when Forex dipped. So when Gullah came into power, Forex dipped, and we got a lot of inflation. I noticed that the demand for relatively high-end pharmaceutical products dropped. The margins really dropped. But those firms, most of those firms operated in relatively high net worth individual environments where the shop rent was relatively high and all that. So even though it was elastic demand that was cyclical, but they targeted communities that had enough disposable cash. So the conclusion was that to operate at that level, you must operate only in neighborhoods that are affluent enough to purchase whatever you have to offer, and that if that same brand wants to leave that neighborhood, that's an entirely different business case. And in some cases, you see a brand that can have different brands selling the same thing, maybe healthcare, pharmaceutical products, different brand, but owned by the same company, selling two different things to two different markets. Because you understand the industry you are serving, you understand the individuals that you are serving, and their pricing behavior. So you have to read the industry before you can set your strategy. You have to. That is the point of this whole session. You have to lead the industry before you can set your strategy. You have to really understand the industry. Is the industry competitive on the short term, on the medium term, on the long term? Who captures value and why? So some industries can be competitive today, but on medium term, they won't be competitive. Some on the long term, they are gone. So for example, I keep saying, if you build your business around the donor industry, on the long term, you don't have a business. You don't have a business. You're going to die, because as the world has relatively emerging issues, everybody, including the donor and the donee, are now suffering. I was reading a paper that poverty in Britain has reached 30-something%. I was at the 40%, but it was really high. In the inner cities. I have a friend that goes to New York, to distribute things to people, poor people, and that was as far back as 10 years ago. So I knew that we can't build a business case on the world giving us, because it's coming to a time when the world too, is even looking to Africa for money. So if you build a business case around that, you build a career path around that understanding, you probably might go in for a shocker, except if God told you in the middle of the night, my son, stay in this industry, right? So everything I'm saying would be advice, you'd be taken under advisement. But the point is that if you have to work with the facts. So managing the value creation. Questions for you. Our job at FoundryKollective is to ask ourselves, can we help you become the person that can lead the entire process? That's really our job. Can we help you, know where value is at risk and what the leverage points are? Can you manage value creation? That's our job. Now, FoundryKollective is not a one-off training. We are your lifetime partners. If you join our network, beyond the trainings, the assessment, the placing, even when you are working, we are assessing you and asking you to come in to take other free courses. But the whole goal is that we are vested in your long-term success, because we believe that as you earn more, the chances that you can pay us slightly higher increases. And besides, we have a VC company. Our biggest challenge as a VC company right now is finding good managers. I'm looking for, as I talk to you now, managers that can manage good businesses who understand what I'm just saying now, because this is beyond being a good team member. This is about being able to manage money, and is harder. It's a hard thing to find, right? So it means that if I, as a member of this network, if you build capacity, the long-term journey in our own perspective is that we should be able to find you a good business for you to run, and of course, take equity. And I believe everyone on this call has that capacity, to become an individual that is investable. It's a choice, it's a skill set, and it's a hard posture, So can I lead people? That's the question. Can I align effort with value? These are the questions we're asking. And we're telling you that it is up to you to determine how long you can answer that question. Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 20 years? It is you that will determine it. We're here to help. We're here to say, if you are willing to go that journey, we're here to provide the support. It will change you, to transform you. It will cut off some excesses from you, because part of what the mistake individuals make is to say, this is how I am. It's not true. You are not like that. You understand? What we call this is how I am is your idiosyncrasies, is your traumas, the things that happen to you, the way you behave, the way you see life, the way your parents are. That is, what we call how you are. I don't know if you understand. So the transformative process, beyond technical skills, is the mind being developed sufficiently to learn how to serve an industry. Most people are, in my opinion, from my experience, what I see is that it is more about the psychology, really, of individuals. Beyond the technical is important, but psychology is also critical. And that psychology is determined by how I am. And I keep telling them what I care to listen. It's not true. That's not how you are. You are making your parents' exposure, the traumas of your life, your whims and caprices, that is not you. If you remember in the some of you here are Christians, you may understand. Bible says that God took away what's his name, Adam, from the Canaan, from Eden, and placed an angel, a cherub that had a knife, of fire that was turning on every direction. Knife cuts, fire burns, and basically it's telling that you cannot enter the Eden, you cannot enter paradise until everything that is in you that is not relevant to paradise is cut off or is burnt off, right? So the same thing applies. You cannot become that person that you must become, until certain things are burnt or certain things are cut off. And part of what I found difficult growing up in management and business was when I realized that at a level, the difference is you are disciplined. At a level, it's no longer about the work, it's no longer about technical capacity, is that how well can you discipline your life, to set objectives, meet them. It's not about the size of the objective. It's that you set objectives, you meet them. Objective, you meet them, because most times the curve is geometric. The parable that he that has even what he will be given more. He that does not have even what he has will be taken away. So it's geometric. And because it's geometric and not arithmetic, it's not a straight line. It's like this. It goes up sharply. So it means that any incremental step towards the true north has geometric effect. So it's not so much about the huge leap, it's about the consistency of improvement towards the true north. The effect is geometric. And likewise, he that does not have, even what he has will be taken away. So you get the point. I'm wrapping up now. I have just about 5 slides to go. I know my time is up. So numbers. Now, even after you've led all these things, you have to understand numbers. You have to understand revenue. You have to understand profit. You have to solve profit. You have to solve cash. You have to understand goods. So some people say I'm not a math person. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's nowhere in the world where they say that some people are math people, some people are not math people. Now, of course, you may not be as proficient as some people, but you must learn the basics. But they will confirm that he has to learn some numbers, right? So Excel, you have to learn the basics. You just have to learn the basics. But let's hear you. You have to learn you have to get the numbers. You know, the numbers are important. But they want to say something.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson is quite right, because one of the core things that Mr. Nelson normally, one of the things he told us is that the numbers don't lie. In your research, when you're doing your research, you can write fantastic words, and all your research can look fantastic from the very first page to the last page. But numbers don't lie, and numbers are the determinants of whether the business is going to survive or whether it's not going to survive. And the numbers also show whether it's going to survive in the next 5 to 10 years or not. It always shows. And one of the things he mentioned that stayed with me was that your employer can make money from your idea, and he's going to praise you. But if he loses money, he can kill you, which is one of the one of the things that I held on to. That if you are doing business, the numbers are what is the core thing you must actually learn, and that's what Octaville and Mr. Nelson actually drummed into us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I'm not sure I put it quite like that, but it was more about if you take an investor's money, investor, and it's true. An investor some people can shoot you. They invested in you and you lost the money. They can, like, I gave 10 million, before you know it, they got a gun and shot you, So, but you have to understand the numbers. Now, there's also the business law, the legality of business. The business law. And in fact, some of our trainings will even start with that, the business law of contracts, because these are critical things you must learn, because all these things I've said are governed by some laws, even the entity itself, the transaction patterns. I'll give you an example. As a VC company, if I tell you how much we are paying for law services, you will not believe it. If you don't believe it, it's more than the highest. I don't know how much anybody, the highest paid person in this call, how much you are earning, but I suspect that our legal fee is more than your annual salary. You understand? No matter what you are paying. So my point is that it costs money. It costs money, and the law is critical also. We'll get to that. I'm adding up now. So value is a system. It's not just a platform. It's also the value chain, the customer acquisition numbers, and to lead a business, you must understand the sense of value creation, industry structure, positioning, market segment, client, value chain, control points, financial, head and distribution, operations and execution, management system, people, organizations, environment, leadership, and you must add to that business law. So that was a mission, business law. The environment, macroeconomics, GDP, inflation, all those things will teach you. You have to understand all those. They are critical. So when you hear GDP, Nigeria, you know what that means. When you hear the inflation is that, you know what that means. When you hear things like that, they had an NPR meeting, and the CBNs announced the liquidity ratio. These things are real economic data that affect your business. So FoundryKollective will exist to build a new class of operators who can actually run businesses, not just understand them. We're not just a training institution. We're not just an ed tech. That's not what we are. We're you can call us a quality assurance career partner. We want to help you to meet a particular quality that the market demands of you. That's our biggest challenge. If as a company we have a challenge, it is finding good people, both for us and for our clients. And it's a very big challenge. And it's not just for here, it's a global challenge. In Africa, I've done work in Namibia, I've done work in Uganda, I've done a lot of work in Nigeria here, and other countries. But the point is that human resource is a big issue. So we want to partner with you for life to gain the right competencies, but more importantly, to deploy those competencies in the marketplace in a sustainable and profitable manner. Now, so we help you to assess your competence. So part of what we're going to do when you enroll for our course is that we assess your competence to say you are level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, or level 5. So that it's objective. We'll interview you as if you are going for a job, so that you can give yourself an honest feedback of where you are. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It means that this is, where we are today. Now you can now build incrementally and check regularly. Maybe every 6 months you can check, So it's not like you just take one course and go. No, you take a course, and then even as you are working, because the work you are doing is also a course. Anywhere you're working, we invite you after series, come and take our exams again. Evaluate yourself and see where you are. So that way you can. We're like your partner. We're a long-term partner. Our goal is that maybe in 10 years from now, we'll look back, we'll have 20,000 young business leaders that can change Africa. So that we can go and let's focus on getting money, raising billions. So for example, our fundraise for this year, we're taking to those 15 billion for our businesses. Now, imagine if in 10 years' time, we raise like 200 billion naira, and we are part of the pool of young people that we are confident that we have known for a long time that can build and manage businesses. So we are looking at it. We are here. We are doing a very serious, very deliberate effort at Octopus VC to identify young, capable talents, support them to build capacity wherever they are working, and over time help them find bigger and better opportunities within our ecosystem and also that of our partners. And we thank you for at least coming for this business teaser, and we look forward to your comments and, if possible, your questions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nelson. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Yeah, Mr. Nelson's record precedes him. He's an excellent teacher and an excellent business developer. And I'm sure that over time you will get to, experience, have that experience of him. Thank you so much, sir. We're really grateful. So for the next session, we'll be having another testimonial, this time by a former senior associate of Octavio Development Company, going by Mr. Austin. Mr. Austin, good to have you with us. Just a little introduction. Mr. Austin is currently the program lead for the Fashion Future program, popularly known as FFP, a skills and local economic development program focused on the fashion industry in Aba, Abia State, Nigeria. Mr. Austin, good to have you with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chisom. Good evening, everyone. My network is not so great, so I just want to confirm that you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you.
All right, thank you. Just to also say that it's been a very long day for me, so my energy level is kind of low, but I had promised to do this because truly I want everybody on the call to be able to hear my story and also benefit from it and understand that you've come to the right place in terms of developing your skills. So I'm just going to speak to my experience as part of the Octavio family, and just to also mention that the FoundryKollective, as it is known now, has had many names. So Mr. Nelson has been someone that has been passionate about developing young people, young professionals, and ensuring that they're able to transcend from being like a junior staff or a junior analyst up till management level. And we are testimonies that is capable. so far as you put your mind to it. So when I joined Oakville, I actually came in as a junior analyst. I was fresh out of NYSC actually. And so my mind was still kind of blank in terms of the workspace or professional environment. I was trying to transition from theoretical knowledge of school, what you're taught in school, into the practical real world application. And fortunately for me, I had some idea about business because my dad was a businessman before he passed on. So I had some exposure to some basic business concepts, but I had not yet developed the depth of thinking or like a structured approach required to solve complex business problems. I also remember that back then, there are challenges that my dad had that if I knew what I knew now, those wouldn't have been challenges at all because I have more information and knowledge to be able to solve some of those challenges. So at that time, when I came in, it was difficult for me to sort of blend in at the early stage of it because I had not developed the skill that I needed to succeed or thrive in that environment. Just to also add that we were into business advisory and management consulting as well. So at that time, I didn't have the clarity and structure to work in that space. So I struggled with breaking down problems, analyzing information and translating the various ideas that you have as a businessman or somebody who is advising a business person into actionable insights. So at that time, I could do a bit of research, but it was difficult to interpret that research and be able to communicate it effectively in a way that someone who is listening to you will be influenced by the things that you are saying and be able to make the right decisions. So that was some of the things I faced when I joined the Oakville family earlier. And at that time, there was a gap that I could feel, that I know what good work looks like because I'll be honest with you, Mr. Nelson and his team, they do good work and he doesn't play with excellence. So whatever document, whatever pitch, whatever engagement we had, excellence was one of the things that came out strongly for him. And it was difficult for me because I could see what excellence looks like, but I didn't have the right skills to be able to consistently produce that level of excellence. So it was a bit frustrating at the start because you could see the standard and you could not measure up at that time. But which can also create some self-doubt. So you might have the imposter syndrome that, oh, I shouldn't be here. But I believe that if you're in the right environment, the right mindset, right skill sets, you will be able to grab some of these things and then grow your skill sets. So at that time, I had the opportunity to learn a lot from Mr. Nelson and also the various facilitators that he works with in this sort of management training. Those training and exposure provided a lot of structure for me. He also introduced me to systems thinking and being able to think about things from a broader perspective, not just from a small place where you find yourself. Also exposed to the discipline, which is one of the things he talked about earlier, because there's a lot of discipline that you would need for you to be able to excel and grow in a professional environment. Also exposed to analytical frameworks and the importance of evidence-based decision-making. So if you want to make a decision as a leader or even as a small businessman or woman, it's important that your decision that would affect your business is backed by evidence from research that you have done so that you are sure that you're making the right choices in terms of how to grow and develop your business. So more importantly, I also learned how to approach problems systematically, not emotionally or not impulsively. So you want to step back and really think about solutions, brood over them before you act. So this is the exposure to these trainings, the work ethics that he also had. It created some changes in me, my life, my skill sets, and some of the major things or shifts that I saw at that time was that I was now able to step back and really ask the right questions, because when you are faced with challenges, you want to be able to ask the right questions, and those questions are what will help you get the right answers to those questions. So I began to ask, well, what is the problem here? Is there any data that I can use to evaluate that particular or solve that particular problem? What are the options that exist in the environment? What is the most strategic recommendation that I can draw from the data that is available? So that mindset was something that I didn't have initially before I started working with Octaville. So I was exposed to that, and it created like a shift in my mind. I was able to think more structured, and that completely changed how I work. So, which I'm also really, really grateful for, because that's one of the reasons why we are where we are at the moment. And there were also some things about that experience that was hard, because it was not the walk in the park. It was quite demanding. There's a lot of resilience you need to have to be able to thrive and succeed in the professional environment. Expectations are always very high, and working with him, and wherever it is that you're working, typically there's little room for mediocrity. You don't want to be at the mediocre level if you really want to grow. So you need to be able to show that, yeah, you have some very great skill sets that would pull you up the ladder in terms of your organization. You have to think deeply, defend your ideas, because you can't just come up with an idea without defending it. You need evidence to back up whatever it is you are saying. You need data, you need research. And sometimes you have to even go back and redo your work multiple times, actually. So if you are not at that level of excellence, sometimes you might need to go back to the drawing board and then come up with something deeper and come up with something better than what you have been able to put out. So that experience it stretched me intellectually. I needed to build the kind of discipline to be able to survive and thrive in an environment like that. But fully, those kind of experience and exposure is what that discomfort is what will lead to your growth. Because if you keep staying in your comfort zone, you don't want any sort of pressure. It's difficult for you to actually my network is not really great.
So sorry,
Chisom, can you confirm? All right, thank you. So currently, I think I'll just try and be faster. Sorry, I like I said earlier, I've had a long day, so my energy is kind of low. Currently, I am the program lead for the Fashion Future program, which is a very, very dynamic and interesting program. We have different areas where the program is focused on. We are trying to do skills development for young people in Abia State, about 6,000 of them. Also trying to provide business development services, that's facilitating the growth of MSMEs in the fashion industry, about 4,000 of them. So total, we're working with a total of 10,000 people. We also gender focused in terms of the work that we do. We are working with 80% women, and we also are doing a lot of stakeholder management on the side, because we're trying to advocate for the MSMEs and see how we can improve the business environment for them. So that's where I am currently, and I started from being a junior analyst who had no experience of what it is to work in the professional environment. And today, I would say that because of the experience and the exposure that I've had, learning under Mr. Nelson and also the very fantastic people that he works with, it's easier for me to break down complex problems quickly and also structure solutions for those problems. I'm also able to lead a team, very interesting team, I must say. And work with various stakeholders toward a shared goal, a shared vision. It's always not very easy actually to work with smart adults who sometimes might even be your senior. Thing that I've been able to learn from Mr. Nelson and also practice. Then I also can make decisions based on data, strategic insights, not just assumptions. So like I said earlier, you want your decisions to be backed by evidence. You want data to prove that, okay, this is why I'm making this decision based on so and so data that I've seen. I'm also able to communicate ideas clearly to both technical and non-technical audiences. So our work is largely in the informal space, and I can still come on formal space like this and also communicate and share my ideas with people. And then I also can now think broadly in systems far beyond the way I used to see things earlier. So these are some of the things that I struggled with at the beginning because I didn't have the right knowledge and skill set and exposure to be able to understand these things. So I would say to anyone here who maybe is a mid-level manager or a low-level manager who is still trying to decide if FoundryKollective is worth it, I would say that you've come to the right place. If you are serious about your
Okay, so it seems
for you. I'm wrapping up now, please, just 2 minutes. Thank you. So I was saying that if you really want to go, to everyone who is here, this is worth it. This is a very, very great place that you have found yourself in. It will force you to move from being someone who executes tasks to someone who solves problems and is able to drive outcomes. So the real question really is not if it's worth it. The real question is if you are willing to be uncomfortable enough to become better. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Yemisi, and over.
Thank you so much, Austin. Thank you so much. I had the privilege of working with Austin, and he was an excellent team member. Thank you so much for coming on the call. We really appreciate your input. Now we have another testifier on the call with us. I said testifier like we're in a church. So Ms. Uche is here to give her testimonial too. So Uche was a junior analyst with Octavia Development Company and is currently the lead strategist at Twilos Consulting Limited. Twilos is a management advisory firm that focuses on impact-driven public-private partnerships. Ms. Uche, the floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chisom. Hello, Yemisi and the team. Thank you for the invite. I'll just say that Austin took the words literally out of my notebook, my notepad. Of course, similar experiences. I was a junior analyst even when Austin was a junior analyst. So let's just say we were with the same batch, training-wise, at Octaville. I also started as a junior analyst, and that was in June of 2020. I remember my my first relationship with Octaville started on a mentorship basis, and then eventually I was offered a junior analyst position. And prior to that, I worked as an assistant business development manager for an architectural consulting firm. So in my days, I wasn't doing badly, but after joining, I mean, I had led multiple initiatives, business expansion strategy, the full works of what I thought business development was about at the time. But joining Octaville opened my eyes to a much broader scope. I mean, I was driven, I was ambitious, I was I was a go-getter. I was articulate. I was what I thought a proper professional should be. But I didn't realize what skill sets I was lacking in becoming the global professional that I had always envisioned to become. But joining Octaville helped me to see what those skill sets were that I was lacking. And key among those is what I call systems thinking. That's the ability to, well, even the mental architecture to analyze complex problems at system level. I mean, I'm talking industry level that spans nations in to decipher systemic complex problems and develop solutions that will effectively fix these problems while also making sure that those solutions are sustainable and will not create any other problems. That sounds very much easier said than done. I mean, we were not just taught the frameworks, the necessary frameworks for having a proper diagnostics level, market level. We were also required to practice while learning. I think that was the toughest part for me. I naturally tend to be a person who enjoys learning first and then apply, but I didn't have the luxury of that while working at Octaville. We were required to practice immediately we learned it. So you had to think on your feet. You absolutely had to think on your feet. And I think that stretched me, made me very uncomfortable, but I'm way better off for it today. Thinking on my feet is no longer, it's not difficult. It's now normal for me. Before that, it was not normal for me. I used to want to go at my pace a lot, but that taught me that you don't have the luxury of that, especially if you say you want to be relevant in certain at certain cadres. You do not have that luxury. You just have to move as the pace of the room demands. So going through this learning experience helped me develop that skill to not just think not just quality thinking, but to produce quality thoughts very fast, quality solutions very fast, and drive implementation of those solutions as well. I mean, it was through this same vehicle that I got to lead on various notable initiatives. I remember contributing in technical writing support to the Nigeria's national MSME policy for 2021-2025 through SMEDM. Octaville made that possible. So that's another thing. I mean, I got to work on a World Bank project. I got to lead, actually. I played a leading role on a World Bank sponsored program. It was nationwide, but I got to play that role in Kaduna State because it was nationwide, but different teams were leading at different state levels. Multiple other notable things that I got to work on, notable initiatives that I got to contribute on. And that's another thing that I like to point out. When we say exposure, it's not cliche. Octaville, by God's grace, has a very vast reach. Client-wise, Octaville is serving clients in the public sector at national, subnational levels. Octaville is serving clients in the international development space. Octaville is serving clients across almost every industry, every sector. So the reach is very vast, very wide. That's something you will get to benefit from through this opportunity. You will get to really understand in depth how different systems work across different industries. And then, of course, you have access to a platform that has a reach, contact, and network-wise into all of those industries. That is priceless. As you advance in your professional journey, you get to, as I advanced, I got to understand the priceless nature of that kind of access. But yes, being part of this will also afford you that. And then finally, I'm just going to say, prepare to be uncomfortable. I know I've mentioned this before. Austin has mentioned it, but it's not like you are thinking. It's really, really uncomfortable if you get hands-on, but also prepare to deal with the discomfort in a productive way. Prepare yourself to work twice harder to find work-life balance, knowing fully well that you'll be way better off for it in the long term. Today, I mean, I have served state governments. I have served executive principals in private sector establishments I didn't think I would enter, all using the same skill set, the same grit built in this process. I mean, in summary, I'm just going to say the problem-solving abilities, the high impact skills that you will learn from this platform, added to the network that this could afford you, added to the opportunities that it primes you for, and then added to the person, the human resource that you become, just the person you become, better able to manage your time, better able to manage your emotions. The character development that comes from being part of this is something you do not want to miss. So I wish you all luck. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, Yemisi. Thank you, Chisom. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Uche. So I had the privilege of meeting Uche last year, and I was so inspired by the amazing work that she's done and she's grown into becoming over the years. So I'm just going to share my screen. And I know that, thank you if you've been with us on the call since 5 p.m. I can see Anos, I can see Anize. A few people have been here since 5 p.m. Thank you so much for sticking with us. So we're going to try and wrap things up. In the next 20 minutes, we should be done. But I would like to talk to you about what we're doing or what we're trying to achieve at FoundryKollective. So like I mentioned earlier, for those who missed it, I'm sure that you'll be wondering, oh, I'm hearing a lot of Octaville. Who is Octaville? What's Octaville about? So if you missed that introduction, Octaville Development Company is based in Abuja, Nigeria, but we've done work across different countries in the world. We've worked with for-profit, non-profit, and government organizations, providing a wide range of advisory services from policy advisory to business strategy. And recently, we set up a venture capital and venture studio last year. FoundryKollective is one of the startups that would be emerging from that venture studio. And it just came from a place of a lot of the needs that we identified in the work we've done over the years. So something that is very core to our values and to the work that we do at Octaville is improving livelihood and contributing to economic development, whether it's in Nigeria or Namibia or Ghana, pretty much any country in the world. And one recurring challenge that we had, and I think Uche made reference to it, is the wide reach that we have in different organizations, different institutions. And so we are constantly asked to recommend people for hiring. And one of the things that we realize is sometimes it's not even the lack of opportunity, it is also having the right people to fit into those opportunities. And that is where FoundryKollective comes in. So we are an edtech. It is not another training company. The goal for us is to find people that we can support and refine into becoming impactful business leaders and match them with opportunities that are in line with their ambition and give them an opportunity to contribute tangibly to issues across the world, really. One of the programs that we'll be having is for mid to executive level personnel. So if you've been working for at least 3 years or up to 7 years, and you just really know that there is more that you can be doing with your time, there is more that you can learn, you know, like you have more capacity that you can expand. This program is really for you. And we've heard from 3 people who have been a part of the Octaville culture or a part of previous programs that we have done. And one thing that is key is just beyond the training, the breadth of knowledge and the depth of knowledge that you're able to gain, and the access to the network that being a part of our network is going to give you. So perhaps over the next 5 to 10 minutes, I'll just walk you through what the FoundryKollective Meet to Executive Level program is about. It's a hybrid program, so you can join us from anywhere in the world, really, and it's going to take place over 12 weeks. But before we go into the core of what a program is, I would want to just walk you through the problem that we found. So 80% of employers do not feel like the people that they need to hire are ready to be hired. And on the right side of my screen, you can see some of the key skills by the World Economic Forum that people need to have in order to succeed in the workplace, especially in light of how much the world of work has changed in light of AI. And so what we want to do is to support people to become the kind of impactful leaders that can take up important positions in organizations globally, beyond just becoming a director or a manager, also owning businesses, becoming co-founders, and building institutions and ventures that contributes tangibly to solving the problems in our society. And so that is where we come in. When you join the program, we would assess you. So we have a customized assessment that's been built for you to understand where you are in light of the key skills that you need to succeed in the present workplace. You would go through a series of training, a boot camp with a vast faculty with vast experience. I'm very excited about the people who will be delivering some of our sessions, and perhaps as you engage well with our network, you will get to find out who some of those people are. Beyond the training, there are other supports that will be providing, psychometric assessments, job readiness, supporting you with your personal branding, positioning, your CV, interview test, pretty much everything, every kind of support that you need to take up globally relevant positions that matches your ambition. Like I said earlier, we do not stop at training, or the core goal is not to provide yet another training, but to connect you with our vast network in terms of opportunities. So placements, whether it is full-time, part-time, contract roles, things that enable you to apply what you've learned, learn new things within the workplace, connect with a wider network, and just really live a more fulfilling life in terms of work that challenges you and stretches you, and also gives you the opportunity to make impact. Mr. Nelson mentioned that this is not just a 12-week training and then we wish you well. We want to be your personal development partner. And so even if we only have a 12-week training, or you might even join one of our shorter courses, the goal is that FoundryKollective is able to work with you throughout the course of your career to continue to improve as a person, identify opportunities that match where you need to be, and be confident enough to take up those opportunities, right? So these are some of the problems that we are looking to solve in terms of what is holding professionals back. So we've had instances where we've matched people with opportunities that are very impactful, very high paying, they had the right technical skill, they get on the job, and then they are not able to fit into these opportunities due to key skills, core skills that could have easily been addressed. And so we have designed a very robust curriculum to address some of these things. Like I mentioned earlier, we have done various kinds of human capital development programs in the past, including the business analyst program and the emerging managers program. And so we have vast knowledge of what it takes to produce globally relevant professionals in different sectors. However, we've now taken all of that experience and built it into FoundryKollective. These are some of the courses that will be covered in our training in the boot camp in terms of the curriculum, right? So both technical and soft skill, and most importantly, access to a network that will connect you with the opportunities that you need at this stage of your career. So you will go through applied learning, You will get credentials, you will get a managed placement, and beyond that, ongoing support that would enhance the work and your visibility as well. So we would kick off our program in June. These are some of the stages. This is your journey through your FoundryKollective journey when you do join us. Give me a second. Okay. Right. All right. So if you join us today, there's the option to pay in installments or to pay the full fee. And then if you're paying before the end of April, you get 100,000 naira off. The link to sign up is on the screen, and it's also going to be in the comment section on Google Meet as well. Right. So we look forward to meeting you on the course, to being a part of your career journey, to supporting you in landing your next job, or even just supporting you in assessing where you are right now as a professional and guiding you through what you need to do and the kind of person you need to become for your next step. So that is all. The link to sign up again is going to be in the comment section, but we're going to have a session on soft skills, but I think we've really learned a lot today. And so perhaps I will open the floor for questions. If we have any question from Mr. Nelson's session or perhaps about the program, we'd be more than happy to answer that. So if you have any question, please do hold up your hand or leave a comment, and then we can take that. If not, we can just have a quick 10 minutes on soft skills, but I think we should use it to answer questions instead. So, or if you can share something that you learned from Mr. Nelson's session, which was really good. I saw someone leave really good comments. Someone says, your firm is not your standard, your industry is the standard. Very true. So what's something that we gained from the session so far on becoming better leaders in the workplace or becoming better business managers? So do feel free to comment, to leave it. You never know, you might end up getting a scholarship because of your engagement. So do feel free to leave a comment in the comment section, or you can raise your hand if you'd want to speak. But I would like to know something that really stood out to you from the session today. Okay, Yakubu said, I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your first name, but someone in the comment section is saying she really enjoyed the session today. Thank you. What's something that you enjoyed? What's a key takeaway that you've had? While we're taking feedback, comments, questions, the link is in the comment section. We also have our community where we'll be sharing tips, opportunities, what we are up to with building out this EdTech. So be a part of our journey. You can join the WhatsApp group. We also have a feedback form as well. We want to know how you found the session. What are you looking, what stood out to you the most? How can we make this better for you? We want to have more sessions like this. So we're getting fantastic comment. Anisa said, we can't get comfortable with where we are. We have to take deliberate steps to keep learning. Very true. Anil said, at a level, it's no longer about the work, but your discipline. Can you set an objective and meet it? It's not even about the size of the objective, but your ability to consistently take steps towards the true north. That's so deep and so good. Thank you so much. I really love that we're really paying attention. I learned a lot about the need to understand the industry you're in, the need to understand the value chain, and also the importance of data and business law. Fantastic. And Ananias said, it's not about having or bringing good ideas, but you must be able to convince people. So you must be able to sell people, get people to buy into your vision.
I think we lost Yemisi. Yemisi, I think our power outage at your end. Well, I believe you can all hear me. We'll take questions. Thank you, Ajeguna. Someone had earlier raised her hand. Martha, you have a question? Okay, someone said the instruction about logging in at least. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Yakubo. Lama. Yakubo, I hope I pronounced it correctly. The Lama. Thank you. Ayemi Shekina, when you can sit to the highest person in your end, yes, Ayemi, that is it. That is when you know you've arrived. Ruth Omodora, go ahead and ask your question now. You can go ahead.
Oh, good evening, sir. So I wanted to ask, is this program available for someone like trying to get into entry level? So I'm going to paint a scenario. The person has been, let's say, studied religion, has been in the educational line for so long and is looking to get into another industry, but because of age and things around that, is unable to get probably graduate training roles. So is this available? Because I saw somewhere around job placement. So after that kind of training, is it possible that the person gets placed in an organization to help move into or transition into another industry? Thank you.
In fact, the fact that you have hard work experience is what counts. Like Bode was looking for work for more than maybe 8 years. I mean, I don't know how many years, but many years. But they didn't even have the kind of work experience that that would have been ideal. Well, post BAP training and the internship, and I must give it to him. He paid the price. Now he has a whole lot stable work that he's also happy and proud to be doing. So yes, Ruth, it's yes, and also note that we're going to have a profiling. So the profiling will help us know where you are, so that the materials are also tailored to fit you. It's not going to be the same level of content for everybody based on where you are, because the goal is to set a realistic, achievable target for you, and then support you to achieve that goal and to grow with time. So yes, Ruth, thank you. While we're waiting for other questions, thank you, Ruth. Ngozi said, "Think that was insightful. Effort doesn't always equate value. Hence, you need to understand it. Yes, you have to understand value chain and math. Yes, you can only what you cannot measure. Hence, you need to understand numbers. Financials is really critical. Yes. Any more comment or question before we call it a wrap? Yemisi, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you so much. I missed Ruth's comments. But yes, thank you so much.
Was a question.
Okay.
Okay,
I believe that you've answered it as well. Okay, any more questions, contributions on what we've learned today? If there are no more questions or contributions, we're happy to call it a wrap. All the key links are in the comment section. Please follow us online, join our community, sign up for the course. We'll have more webinars like this where we are bringing in experts to touch on key things that professionals need to grow in their career or contribute to making more impact. Don't forget to sign up for the program. We're kicking off on the 19th of June, where you can sign up for 100,000 Naira off before the 30th of April. If you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to us. We really want to support as many impact leaders as possible to have the right skill and to be placed properly for opportunities that tangibly improves their lives and gives them opportunity to contribute to solving globally relevant problems. Okay, all the links are in the comment section. I think that if there are no questions, okay, we have a comment. What really stood out to me today was the need to raise my standards beyond my current environment, because my firm doesn't define me on my true ability. I realize now that I need to hold myself to a higher standard. However, I do have a question. I'm currently working in network marketing industry, working with a product-based people building company. To be honest, I don't yet have the skills required to effectively build and manage people. How can the program help me develop in that area? That is, it is for people who are where you are that we have designed this program for. And like I mentioned, this is one of 3 core programs that we'll be doing at FoundryKollective. And like Mr. Nelson mentioned, we have a customized self-based assessment that would guide you on perhaps which of our programs would be best fit for you, and also guide us on how to design our program to meet you where you are, supporting you to build skills relevant to your industry and skills relevant to any workplace globally. So whether it is business knowledge, technical skills, or soft skills. So you can reach out to us for more details, but one of the core things that we'll be doing on the program is not just technical skills, but guiding you on how to lead and manage teams, how to demonstrate relevant soft skills in the workplace that makes you stand out and improves your ability to solve problems. So we have the feedback form. Please do fill the feedback form. We would like to know how we can make this better. Thank you for all the amazing feedback in the comment section. This is really helpful for us to know how perhaps to deliver this better or what we should maintain next time. Thank you to Ifeanyi Chukwu for sharing what you've learned. You seem like an Octaville alumni. Okay, yes, you're part of the YSEC program. You're welcome. We have the feedback form, link to our community, and the link to sign up. If you do have any questions or concerns, you can reach out to us. But we'll be wrapping up the call now if there are no more questions. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. I'll be handing over to Chisom.
Thank you, everyone, for joining the call this evening, especially those that have been here since 5 p.m. We greatly appreciate you. Please kindly use the link to join the WhatsApp group where we'll be disseminating all the information and, of course, we're sharing the links. Thank you all and see you all next time. Good night.
Good night, sir. Bye.
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 Bye, Ananias.
Goodbye, everyone.
Good night, Mr. Bode. Good night, Temilolua.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night to the baby. Good night.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Lama. Please join with the WhatsApp link. Thank you, everyone.